pails and rails, what they are, and how to use them. So pails and rails uses isometric contractions at end range of joint position to improve joint function, to improve the amount of space and range of motion that we have in that joint. So isometric contractions means that I'm contracting a muscle, but there's no movement happening. So if I had a weight in my hand and I lifted it, this bicep muscle would be contracting, but also there's movement here. This elbow joint is moving. Now if I put my hand here and I stop my arm from moving, I'm still creating force and tension. That muscle is still working. This bicep muscle is contracting, but there's no movement. So that is an isometric contraction, no movement. So we're using isometrics at end range. So again, using the bicep as an example here, this would be the fully lengthened end range of this muscle. Here, this muscle is totally shortened, fully compressed. So an isometric at end range would be here with the elbow joint fully extended. I'm using that muscle where the muscle is fully lengthened. Here, the muscle is fully shortened. I'm pressing against my hand now, trying to push it down this way. That is also an isometric contraction in the fully shortened position. So when we're using an isometric at the fully lengthened position, that's a progressive angle isometric, Pails. When we're using it in the fully shortened position, that's a regressive angle isometric, Rails. Now the benefit of these exercises is many, but one of them is getting a greater sense of control of tension through this part of our body, and therefore relaxation. We want to be able to control the balance of tension and relaxation throughout our entire body. And if there's parts of us where we can't create tension, that's obviously an issue. If there's parts of us that we can't experience relaxation, also an issue. We want to find the balance, be able to explore both ends of that spectrum. And isometrics is a fantastic way to do it. On top of that, if we're talking about a rehab setting, so if you watched the CARS video, which I hope you did, watch that before you do this, because CARS are the foundation to move us into Pails and Rails. We talked about aberrant joint function. So this tissue is just locked, preventing me in my neck. In that video, we talked about pinching and pain in the neck. So what we need to do is improve the quality of the tissue in that area. So isometrics is a great tool for that, because after, let's say that condition was created from an injury, lack of use, poor posture, numerous things can create that. But what happens after an injury or over time, if we're not using that part of our body, is that collagen is laid down by cells called fibroblasts, and just laid down, healing for an injury. Now that laying down of collagen happens in a random way unless we guide that process through creating specific lines of tension to show our body, those fibroblasts, that this is where we need that collagen created. This is how this joint functions. So this is a great way in a rehab setting to improve the function of a joint, support that fibroblastic activity and collagen production, and overall function and health of the area and joint. Okay, so now hopefully it's a lot of words, I know, but hopefully that is a basis of understanding for what we're about to do. So we're going to do a Pails and Rails together. So I want you to lie on your side. Either side, doesn't matter. So we're going to do a Pails and Rails stretch for shoulder internal rotation, which is lost on so many people. We lose this range of motion, we lose the ability to get into it, which creates all sorts of problems. So you're going to lie on your side. You're going to put something underneath your head so that your head and neck is supported. Now from here, your legs can be in like a Z kind of shape here, an L, whatever. Or you can have them straight out, whatever's more comfortable to you. But the important thing is that your hips and shoulders are stacked so that they're on top of one another. If you're laying like this, or you're laying like this, we're creating a rotation in the spine and we're doing ourselves a disservice. We want to be stacked here. Now, if you can, ideally, the arm is going to come at an angle straight out, like this. Not angled towards our feet, not angled towards our head, straight out at 90 degrees. Now, if that's, sometimes this can be too tight for people at first, so you can angle it down if that takes off some of the pressure. But, so here we go. We're going to begin the Pails and Rails stretch by taking our other hand on the outside of our hand that's on the ground, arm that's on the ground, and bringing it down. Just bringing it down as far as it will go. So now this is the passive stretch aspect of the Pails and Rails. So for this, we want to wait 2 minutes of holding at the end range of internal rotation for the shoulder. And this 2 minutes is a great opportunity to get some breathing in, because here we're just fully relaxed. A great technique is breathe in for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 8. That's really going to get our nervous system into a more parasympathetic state, a more relaxed state. That's it. Just keep breathing and waiting. So this is great because we're just, we're getting benefit for free here. We don't have to do anything. We're just hanging out, and the joint is opening. The tissues are releasing. And then in a moment, we're going to engage in the active isometric portion of the Pails and Rails stretch. So the first part would be the progressive angle isometric loading, because we're going to be, I'm going to disengage here for a moment, we're going to be pressing the back of our wrist up into that hand that's preventing us from moving. So this is where now we have the tissue lengthened, and we're asking it to activate and turn on, just like I did with my bicep when it was fully lengthened. Now the important thing about this is to ramp this contraction up very slowly and carefully, because the tissues are lengthened. If we are working with an untrained joint, or a joint that maybe is not functioning as well as we would like it to, we have to go slow, because we don't want to go too fast and ask too much of the joint and the tissue surrounding. So you're going to ramp up this isometric contraction very slowly. So you can start with 5% and do it with me now. So just press up 5% into that hand and hold it. And now you're going to keep holding that tension and creating that tension. And here the idea of irradiation that we spoke about in the CARS video can come into play. So you want to try to irradiate this contraction not just in the shoulder, but see if you can get the pec muscle to join in the chest, and keep some activation in the abdomen, some intra-abdominal pressure. Now you ramp up that intention a little bit more to maybe 10-15%, and ramp it up a little bit more. So you only want to create as much tension as feels safe for you. You never want to push through something that doesn't feel safe. So let's hold it here wherever you're at. Hold it for another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that tension. Let the whole body relax. Now, like you're arm wrestling a ghost, take that fist and drive it to the ground. So now this is the regressive angle, the shortened tissue. You're asking it to turn on. Go, go, go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. And then from here we would do another set. So that is an example of a Pails and rails stretch. The important things to keep in mind are ramping up the intensity of the isometric slowly on the progressive side, so the lengthened side. So in this particular example, that would be here with the arm down. We're going into external rotation. We want to go slowly until our greatest, safest effort. And you can hold the contraction for anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds. Over time, as you do this, your joints and tissues are going to get more resilient, and you're going to be able to create more pressure and tension. You're going to be able to master the tension across that joint, and therefore relaxation as well. So you'll see sometimes people will do this, and they're shaking, they're creating so much contraction, so much force, and that only happens over time. When I first started doing these, I hung out at the 5 to 10% range for a long time and just explored the little bit of tension that I was creating there and how that was opening up my joints, opening up the tissues, opening up more ability to move. So if you first start to do this and you feel like you can't create a lot of tension, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. It doesn't need to be something that's super intense. In fact, when I first started using this system, I used it very gently. I didn't have a good understanding of irradiation. So if you can't feel that contraction, that gentle activation in the belly, and how the contraction is irradiating through other areas of your musculature, don't sweat it. Just show up, do the best you can. It's all about just giving ourselves that attention every day, and it will improve over time. So yeah, Pails and rails, isometric contractions, improving joint range of motion, improving joint function, mastering tension and relaxation across our joints, and gaining more strength in that joint, which is overall going to make us healthier, more robust, more resilient, more resistant to injury, and just physically better at everything that we do in our life. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it answered some questions if you had any. If you have more, please feel free to ask them. You can comment on this, you can leave me a message, anything like that. And thank you so much for watching.